What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today it's time to start looking at all the new cards in Worlds Collide, the new Keyforge set. It's coming out on Friday. We need to start our look at it. And we're going to start off with DIS because, why not DIS? We're only looking at the new cards in the set. We are not worried about the reprints because we've seen them before. So, Buzzle then. Buzzle is a creature with 3 power and 0 armor. And you have Skirmish, which means if you start the fight, you will survive the fight. And it reads, when you play or fight, you may purge one of Buzzle's neighbours, and if you do, ready Buzzle. Now this one's a lot of fun, because essentially here, you can use it as much as you like, as long as you've still got creatures. You can play a creature down next to Buzzle, and then use Buzzle, i.e. play or fight, and then purge it, and then go. Thing to remember is because you've got Skirmish, you're starting all of these fights, you're fighting over and over and over, but you're not getting KO'd. It is play and fight only though, it doesn't work when you reap. DENDRIX is a 5 power, 0 armor creature. When you fight, your opponent discards a random card from their hand. DIS have never been particularly afraid of a little bit of hand disruption. We've seen that in the past with cards like Gone Goozle, so why not have a little bit more of it here? Draining Touch is an action card, and it reads destroy a creature with no amber on it. So you get to destroy whichever creature you like, whether it's one of yours or one of your opponents', just so long as they have no amber on them. Amber is when you exalt. Remember, exalting is a new thing in Worlds Collide. You put an amber from the common pool onto the creature, or where you have captured an amber from your opponent's pool. Anyone that has exalted or captured is free and does not care about Draining Touch. Anyone else should be a little bit worried. ETAROMME, a 4 power, 0 armor creature, and when you reap, you destroy a creature of the house with the most creatures in play. Now clearly if both yourself and your opponent share a house, then it is rather likely that that house will end up with the most creatures in play. Either way here, look at the house with the most creatures in play, and then destroy a creature. Now, this could be kind of awkward, because it could be one of your own creatures, and this is not an optional thing. When you reap, you must destroy a creature of the house with the most creatures in play. If it is a shared house, great, you can go for one of yours or one of your opponents, but if the house with the most creatures in play is one of yours, and you reap with ETAROMME, you are forced to destroy one of your own creatures. Might not worry you, but it might. Festering Touch is an action card that gives you an amber bonus, and it reads, when you play it, choose up to 2 creatures, deal 1 damage to each chosen creature. If that creature was already damaged, deal 3 damage instead. So you're either dealing 1 or 3 damage to 2 creatures. Again, this does not say enemy creature, so this would work just as well for your creatures as your opponents, if that's what you were feeling in the mood for. Now, dealing 1 amber to 2 different creatures, it's just not particularly impressive. Back in Age of Ascension, we had Whistling Darts, which came along and did 1 damage to each enemy creature while giving you an amber. But dealing 3 damage to 2 creatures, yeah, that we can get on board with. It's just not always reliable. Harbinger of Doom, a 2 power, 3 armor creature, making it one of the very select group of creatures that has more armor than power. And when it's destroyed, you destroy each creature. Every single creature, yours and your opponent's. When Harbinger of Doom goes down, everybody goes down. This is fun, right? This creates a really fun dynamic. If you've got very few creatures in play but your opponent's got loads, you can chuck Harbinger of Doom at a 5 power or above creature, essentially sacrificing it, and then getting rid of all of your opponent's creatures as well. Doesn't matter how large a battle line your opponent has, when Harbinger of Doom goes down, everyone goes down. Now, I adore Impspector, because it's got a little detective hat. I don't quite know why we have an Impspector with a little detective hat, but oh my goodness, I'm delighted that we do. 2 power, no armor creature, and when it is destroyed, you purge a random card from your opponent's hand. So I was telling you a moment ago how much fun it can be to discard cards from their hand, get a bit of hand disruption going. Well, here you're not discarding a random card from your opponent's hand, you are purging it, which essentially means it's gone for the game and you ain't getting it back. It's fun. Purging a card is great. When you discard a card, your opponent's like, oh, I might be able to recover it, and even if I can't, sooner or later my deck will run out, I'll shuffle my discard pile, it will become my deck, I'll be fine. Oh, no, 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 no! Along comes Impspector. Such a powerful thing that it had to be a destroyed trigger. If this was a reap trigger, it would be dumb good. INFURNACE, a 4 power, 0 armor creature, and when you play it, you purge up to 2 cards from a discard pile. And your opponent loses amber equal to the total amber bonus of the purged cards. Now, what you really want to do here is go after, well, Virtuous Works is the one which we probably see slightly more often, but you've got to be thinking Fertility Chant here. Virtuous Works gives a treble amber bonus, which means that you would get rid of 3 of your opponent's amber doing so, but Fertility Chant gives 4 amber bonus. Now, to be fair, Fertility Chant also, when you play it, gives your opponent 2 amber, but that's irrelevant, because all we're looking at for INFURNACE here is the amber bonus, which is 4. Against certain decks, this could be absolutely amazing. I mean, just purging 2 cards from a discard pile, we talked about purging a minute ago, it's kind of fun, but being able to take a lot of amber away from your opponent is great. The most common thing which is likely to actually work here is Dust Pixie. Certainly in the Archon format, we see a lot of people playing multiple Dust Pixie decks. So here you would be able to purge 2 of them so your opponent can't get them back, while also making your opponent lose 4 amber. That will actually work fairly often. LILITHAL, a 5 power 0 armor creature, which is about as powerful as we get when it comes to disc creatures. And when you fight or reap, you capture an amber. Now, as we've been going through here, we've not seen a lot of amber control. We've not seen a huge amount of cards that take amber away from your opponent, and it's one of those you've got to take what you can get. And the great news here is you're always capturing an amber. Reap, capture an amber. Fight, capture an amber. It's really good here at just getting a bit of amber. No, it's not going to take your opponent down from 10 amber to below check, but any amber control is welcome in a game where if your opponent gets too much amber, they win. MALISON, a 5 power 0 armor creature. When you fight, you may move an enemy creature anywhere in its controller's baseline. Then if it is on a flank, it captures 1 amber from its own side. So you don't have to put it on a flank, but you may well want to put it on a flank. Now, there's little things you can do here. So, for instance, we had Camouflage in Age of Ascension. You put it on a creature, and creatures not on a flank cannot fight this creature. So what MALISON can do here is move an enemy creature so it's not on a flank, so it cannot fight the one with Camouflage. But most of the time here, you're going to want to put a creature on a flank, and then it's going to capture 1 from its own side. Now, please do remember the rule when it comes to capturing here. When a creature captures an amber and is then destroyed, the opponent gets the amber. So you make them capture from their own side, destroy, you get an amber. ROTGRUB is a 1 power 0 armor creature. When you play, your opponent loses an amber. Nice amber control. When you reap, you archive ROTGRUB. So here, the plan very simply is play it so your opponent loses an amber, reap to archive, Put it out your archive, play it so your opponent loses an amber, repeat to fade. It's not going to work, you know, it's kind of an every other dis turn thing. I mean, when you play it, your opponent loses an amber, it's exhausted. Then the second dis turn you archive it, then the third one you play it, and so on and so forth. The Evil Eye is an action card with an amber bonus that says that keys cost +3 amber during your opponent's next turn. It is an action card version of Lash of Broken Dreams. Now, bad news, you can't use it every turn. Good news, you get an amber. More good news, you don't have to wait a turn. Keys cost +3 next turn, whereas Lash of Broken Dreams comes in exhausted. It's making your opponent's keys cost more. It's a good thing. Borr, a 3-power, 0-armor creature. When you reap, you reveal the top 5 cards of a player's deck, and you may purge it. Now, we've already seen a bit of purging so far in this. Borr lets you look at the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck and purge a card. Now, you can purge your own card. That's fine. But still kind of fun, right? And we've got Borr's Touch, which gives you an amber bonus and does the same thing, like exactly the same thing. When you play it, you reveal the top 5 cards of a player's deck, purge a card revealed this way. There are some decks that we are going to be seeing in Worlds Collide, which are going to be purging an awful lot of cards, just wrecking your opponent's deck. Eon the Fringes is a 1-power, 0-armor creature with elusive, so at least you got a bit of staying power in that regard. And during your turn, after you discard a discard from your hand, you may purge a discard from a discard pile. And if you do, steal an amber. Now, it's a rather complicated card. Plus, of course, it says discard twice and discard twice. They must have known this was going to happen. But essentially, what it allows you to do is when you discard a card from your hand, as you're allowed to do during your dis turn, you may purge a discard from a discard pile and steal an amber. Now, in a mirror match where you're playing against an opposing dis deck, this is phenomenal because you get to purge one of your opponent's cards and then steal an amber. If your opponent isn't playing dis, you can purge one of your own cards to steal an amber, and I'll let you decide if it's worth it. Gleeful Mayhem is an action card that gives you an amber bonus and reads, for each house, deal 5 damage to a creature of that house. I.e., pick one creature from every house represented in play, deal 5 damage to that creature. That is going to be for yourself and for your opponent, so it is going to be a little bit awkward. Worth pointing out that this will destroy old Harbinger of Doom. Just putting that out there. So, yeah, could hurt you, but will also hurt your opponent. Obsidian Forge is an artifact that gives you an amber bonus and has an action. Sacrifice any number of friendly creatures, then you may forge a key at +6 current cost, reduced by 1 amber for each creature sacrificed in this way. And then you've got to destroy Obsidian Forge. It might be an artifact, but you still can't do this every turn. It's kind of cool. I mean, look, if you sacrifice enough creatures, you can literally forge for free. You essentially wipe your own board to forge a key cheap or free. That sounds alright by me. Now, we're also getting Snag. It is a 5-power, 0-armor creature, and when you fight, your opponent must choose a house of the creature Snag fights as their active house on their next turn. So you're a 5-power creature, you're pretty good at fighting, especially in the context of it being this. And then you get to choose your opponent's house for them next turn. That sounds like fun. Soul Fiddle is an artifact with an action that enrages a creature. Rage is where you put a rage counter on a creature, and it means that the next time they're used, they have to fight. They cannot reap or use an action. But then the rage counter goes away and they're free to do what they will next turn. Greater OXTET is a 4-power, 0-armor creature with taunt. That is to say that its neighbours cannot be attacked. He has to be attacked instead. And it reads, at the end of your ready card step, purge a card from your hand. If you do, give Greater OXTET 2 +1 power counters. Now, you have to purge a card from your hand. It says if you do, just in case you have a 0-card hand, but this is not a you may, it is a purge a card from your hand. This is a gigantic risk-reward card, because on the one hand, it basically goes up by 2 power every turn, turning into an unstoppable monster. On the other hand, firstly, you're always starting with 1 fewer card in your hand the following turn, and you've done it to yourself. Secondly, you're purging your own cards. We've talked about how much fun it is to purge your opponent's cards. It is not fun to purge your own. Harvest Time is an action. When you play it, you choose a trait, demon, imp, etc. Purge each card with that trait, and each player gains 1 amber for each card they control that was purged in this way. So you can either purge all your opponent's creatures, or at least a lot of them. I mean, like most Saurian are dinosaurs, for instance, most Shadows are thief, while feeding them a bunch of amber, or purge your own creatures while also getting a whole bunch of amber. Risk reward, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I told you about Greater OXTET. We've also got Lesser OXTET. It is a free power creature with elusive, and when you play it, you purge each card in your hand. Try and play it with an empty hand, would you? But when you reap, keys cost +3 during your opponent's next turn. So it's kind of like Lash of Broken Dreams, except you gain an amber at the same time. That's pretty neat. Lord Invidius is the DIS leader. I did do a video about leaders. Every house got a leader in Worlds Collide. Or he's getting, I suppose. It's not actually out till Friday. 5 power, 0 armor with elusive. While Lord Invidius is in the center of your battle line, it gains reap. Take control of an enemy flank creature and exhaust it. While under your control, it belongs to House DIS. It's nice. Now, it needs to be in the center of your battle line, but you can literally just play cards until it's in the center, then reap and use the skill, and then add on extra cards. It doesn't need to be in the center of the battle line at the end of your turn, just at one point during your turn. NONAME is a 1 power, 0 armor creature with no skirmish, no elusive. It looks extremely weak, but it gets +1 power for each purged card. Oh, that's quite good. Now, it is purged card, not your purged cards, not your opponent's purged cards, each purged card. And we've been talking quite a lot in this video about all the different cards that can purge. This could be huge. Like, this could legitimately get up to 20 power. SINESTRA is a 5 power, 0 armor creature. After your opponent plays a creature on their left flank, they lose an amber. How weirdly specific is that? We've seen plenty of when it's on a flank, but no, this is when your opponent plays a creature on their left flank. Okay, still weirdly specific. SNAG'S Mirror, yeah, we talked about Snag a minute ago. SNAG'S Mirror is an artifact that gives you an amber bonus and reads, after a player chooses an active house, their opponent cannot choose the same house as their active house on their next turn. Now, I believe I may have made a mistake reading this when I talked about Snag in my previous video, but it basically means you cannot copy your opponent's house and they cannot copy yours. So let's say you're both playing Shadows, you choose Shadows, your opponent isn't allowed to choose Shadows. And then on your next turn, you can choose Shadows again and they're not allowed to choose Shadows. When one person chooses an active house, their opponent cannot choose the same active house. And then we've got SNAGLET, which again is all to do with trying to stop you choosing the right house. 2 power, 0 armor creature with elusive, and it's got an action, choose a house. If your opponent chooses that house as their active house on their next turn, steal 2 amber. So it doesn't stop your opponent choosing the house they want per se, but what it does do is force your opponent to essentially give you 2 amber if they choose a house you'd rather they weren't using. And the final creature, Dexus. 5 power, 0 armor. After an opponent plays a creature on their right flank, they lose an amber. So I told you about SINESTRA here being weirdly specific. Well, Dexus is the other side of it, quite literally. One of them's attacking one way, one of them's attacking the other way. They're both 5 power, 0 armor creatures. Neither of them have skirmish, elusive, or anything along those lines. And essentially, both of them together make your opponent lose an amber when they're played on the specific flank. They are special rares, so I assume these do come along together. And the final thing we need to talk about here is the Banes. Beast Bane gives you an amber bonus when you play it, destroy a beast. Demon's Bane gives you an amber bonus when you play it, you destroy a demon. These are the traits written in the little text underneath the name of the card. Dinosaur's Bane gives you an amber when you play it, you destroy a dinosaur. Human's Bane gives you an amber when you play it, you destroy a human. Scientist's Bane gives you an amber when you play it, you destroy a scientist. And Thief's Bane gives you an amber when you play it, you destroy a thief creature. The only way this goes really bad is when the only creature with a trait is one of yours, because again, this does not say enemy, it just says a creature. So, as long as you're not destroying your own creatures, this is cool. Worst case scenario, you get an amber. Best case scenario, you get an amber and destroy one of your opponent's creatures. That sounds a-okay to me. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all of the new disc cards coming out in Worlds Collide. Over the next few days in the run-up to release, I will, of course, bring you a video for the other 6 houses, so that by the time the set comes out, you will have every single card from the set. You'll know what they all are. And on the release date, on Friday, I will give you my top 10 from the set. For now, I'd like to know what your favourite discards are from the set. I'd like to know which ones you're excited about. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk about Keyforge and other games. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.